Welcome to the Cake Box Challenge. In this issue of BRM, we're launching our new modelling competition. The rules are simple. This is a standard 8-inch square and 6-inch tall cake box. As you can see, it is sadly empty of cake. Your job is to fill it, not with cake, much as I'd love to be judging that sort of competition. Your job is to fill it with a model, or at least a model that will fit into the box. Now, we've deliberately kept this as simple as possible. The rules are that you've got to have a model that fits in the box with the lid on, and it must contain 2 railway items. But they can be absolutely any railway items you might want. So it doesn't have to be a locomotive or a train in any way. The idea is we're going to encourage people's imagination. Practically, the first thing you're going to want is you're going to want a base plate to work on. And the obvious first choice would probably be something like this. This is a cardboard foil covered cake base plate bought from a cookery shop. And it's quite nice and stiff and just under a couple of quid. It's certainly cheap enough. A bit shiny though, so perhaps you prefer something a little more solid. Another option is polystyrene. I've cut this piece of polystyrene so it'll fit nicely into the box. And actually, I could have built up several layers of it so I could have a hillside, for example, if I wanted to model a tunnel coming out of the hillside. Again, easy, cheap. You could probably extract this from polystyrene packaging that you've had left over from something. But the option I'm going to be playing with here is some foam board, which I've painted grey, really just so it shows up on the white table. Let's clear a bit of space. Now, you might think that the people who are going to have the easiest time in this competition will be N-gauge fans. And there's a lot to be said for that. A little bit of N-gauge track. You can actually fit an entire train into the space available. Obviously, I'll be cutting the track off the ends there. But there we are. We have a complete train. Cut the track off. It will actually fit in the box. That's great. Now, the thing you've got to bear in mind is that N-gauge will allow you to have a lot more scenery. You could have quite a decent hillside coming out of here. So this could be in a cutting or on an embankment. You can really go to town because of all the space that you've got. However, we haven't specified the scale you work in. So while N-gauge may seem the obvious choice in here, the larger scales also offer lots and lots of possibilities. If we look at 00, again, we can fit track in there nicely enough. I'll cut that off the end, but you can see just how much larger the scale is and how much more space one locomotive. And this isn't a big locomotive. This is a small 060 steam shunter based on a resin kit from Arc Models that we've previously written up in BRM. You can see how much more it fills the box. But you could actually get a small motive power depot in here. So we could have a water tower here perhaps, or a coaling stage, especially if you were looking at an industrial model for something like the Hornby Peckett, or perhaps the Golden Valley Janus or something like that in there. So you can make a little scene up that would fit in rather nicely. Could be a bit more ambitious perhaps. And with my love of model boats, perhaps I could put in a model boat and some of my polystyrene, and suddenly we've got a little bit of a dockside scene going on. The sitter wagon there, and there's even just enough height, because bear in mind it's got to go in the box, there's just enough height for a small hut. And there we are, quite a nice compact scene, lots and lots of action, lots of modelling possibilities. And you know, certainly you'd be very proud of that. And the great thing about this is none of this is going to take up a lot of space. And as you can see from what I've done here, I'm using existing models, apart from the boat, which I picked up cheaply on a trade stand. And you can make a nice little scene, something a bit different. Lots of imagination available there for you, hopefully. Not everybody will want to look at something like this and say, I'll use the same stuff I've got kicking around already. Perhaps this is an opportunity to try something new. Do you fancy having a go at 7mm? Well, tiny little loco, it'll still fit in the box. That's great. But let's be honest, once we're into O gauge, then you really are into very, very small locos. But there is absolutely no requirement to have a locomotive in the diorama you build. How about something as simple as a wagon being unloaded? With 7mm, some wagons come with opening doors, or indeed you could open the doors up yourself. If this was a van, perhaps you've got a little car or something. This is a white metal kit, but there are plenty of die-cast cars out there that would fit the scene very, very nicely. And suddenly you've got a wagon being unloaded in a yard. So you only need a tiny bit of track, some ground cover, a couple of guys with spades, unloading coal out of the wagon, perhaps even unloading it straight onto the back of a lorry. Again, it's all about imagination and making best use of the space. Now, you might think, he's not going to get any bigger in O gauge, but he is. Looking at the space, it would be perfectly possible to work even in one of the garden scales. There we are. We have a slightly Tyrolean, I will admit. He's not a proper British train spotter, but how about just modelling the end of a platform? Now, here we are. We have a railway item. This is a railway trolley. We would need to put another railway item in here, but say, how about a tail lamp just casually left lying around, or a station sign? As long as it fits within the space and the items are railway related, and I say quite tenuous links will be absolutely fine, you've got a little scene there. Even to the stage of taking some 16mm track, and again we are looking at a very small locomotive, but actually in the garden scales these small locomotives will cost you considerably less than anything you're going to look at in the smaller scales. Something like this can be bought as a kit for about £40, and just to make sure we have our requisite 2 items, here we are. Our driver is busy talking to the guard. Now, let's be honest, there's a bit more scenery to go around this. There's some ground cover and that sort of thing, but all importantly, it will fit in the box. So, there we are. I hope I've opened up some ideas and some possibilities for you. It's even possible that you could combine the two a bit. So, let's see, we've got some end gauge, and we've got our coach. Now, this just shows possibilities. What happens if this is a large-scale ride-on railway we're doing? Now suddenly we've got a figure, and he's a model engineer, and he's looking at his ride-on train. There you are, 2 railway items in a box. Something a little bit different there. Hopefully, I've inspired a few of you to go and have a look in the magazine. In this issue, we've got all the rules and the full details and prizes for the competition. What we're hoping to do is over the next year, we're hoping to encourage people to do a bit of modelling. Nice small area. It's not going to take up too much space. It's not going to cost a lot of money. And let's be honest, you can let your imagination run riot. Tell us what you're up to. There will be a thread running on RM Web where you can submit photos and just generally talk about ideas and inspiration. Perhaps share photos of real things that you might think inspire other people. Have fun with this. We'll look forward to seeing some of the results both in the forum, on print, and also at 1 or 2 of the exhibitions.